Yeah, was good. You already know, call me Ace, and you now listening to therapy sessions.
Welcome to episode 4 of Therapy Sessions and a happy hello from your favorite hosts. I'm Paulette.
And I'm Lohana. Get horizontal, grab your tissues, and get ready for this week's therapy sessions,
where we're dedicated to diving deep into the minds of our favorite musicians by looking into the psychological and sociological side of their artistry and their whole lives.
With us today, we have Call Me Ace. Welcome, Ace.
Hey, what's good, y'all? What's good? Appreciate y'all having me on board. It's I love the topic of this. I love everything that y'all embody, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yay. We love everything you embody. That's why it's going to be such an interesting conversation. I always feel like it's hard to get everything out, in just like a 45-minute episode. But even listening to your albums and your songs, you get so much emotion and so much just life out into what you do. And so I think you're such an awesome artist to be able to just like even dig a little deeper and see an entire picture. It's going to be really awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of truth that we kind of want to unpack. So
let's do it.
Let's do it. It's therapy, baby.
Let's get it.
Well, how are you feeling today? I know that you're kind of traveling and doing a bunch of stuff, but How are you feeling? How are your emotions? How's everything?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking and checking in. This is the first day that I've gotten 8 hours of sleep in literally months. So feeling refreshed. Also got some coffee, so I'm feeling energized, and I'm seeing family, so I'm just full of love and reflection for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
how
so
about
what's
y'all?
your
I want to know how y'all feeling though too.
What's your coffee order? I just need to know.
Oh gosh, I mean, I wung it because it was a place I had never been to before. So it was a double shot of, what was it? Some Bolivia light roast with caramel brulee.
Strong.
Caramel brulee latte. Yeah. No, it was
so good.
It was it. The flavor was caramel brulee. It was a latte, soy milk, and
hell yeah.
Yeah, it felt good. Felt right.
Sounds super bougie.
Yeah, exactly. $4.
As you should, treat yourself.
You know what I mean?
$4.
I just wung it,
Perfect.
Yeah. How about y'all? How are y'all doing?
Good.
I'm good.
Yeah, on the last episode, we talked about how I was trying to stop drinking coffee, actually, and I was essentially the worst person. I was sad all the time, and so I think I lasted 5 days
without
dope. Coffee.
That's awesome.
Total. Maybe I made it 6.
That's pretty good.
I don't know.
Really good.
Yeah, now I'm kind of like making up for lost time and doing double shots, and I'm like, the cold brew, nice. Yeah, it's just not okay.
No, I took a break.
It's not okay.
I took a break last week too. I feel you. Yeah.
I got
It's impossible.
Oh, sorry. I got a coffee today,
no, go.
And the coffee was really strong, but sometimes the coffee, it gets so strong, you drink it, you buzz for a few, maybe an hour, and then you crash. That just would happen to me.
Oh no!
It crashed. I crashed so quickly, and it was like 10 a.m. when I crashed, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like I'm tired now.
You're like the rest of the day.
Oh no! That's very short-lived and ill-prepared.
I know. Oh my god, the day's over.
Oh no! Well, we're gonna pick you back up. It's gonna be a communal effort.
I was gonna say.
I know.
This will energize.
I need to hype myself up.
I got you.
Yeah, baby. Well, yay! Cool. This is so exciting. And what are you listening to nowadays? I know that you got a good sleep last night. You're feeling refreshed. How has, what's in your headphones adapted to that as well?
Yeah, a bunch of new beats that my producers have sent me. So on the plane yesterday, I wrote a new song. Got a new, like, I was showering earlier today listening to this new beat that my producer sent. It's crazy. Already has me in a completely new mindset. So a lot of instrumentals. Also, an artist reached out to me from London, wants me to jump on a track, and was checking that out. I thought that was really cool too. So a lot of instrumentals, so cool. Just like forcing my brain to get stimulated in that way.
So
that's amazing.
When you're writing a song, when you're coming up with all of the lyrics, does it just like come up anywhere and then you start to write, or
Yeah.
Sit down, like get in the zone and then write, or?
Yeah, no, I think any place where I'm at is a zone, you know, and so I don't have the luxury of like having the one place that I go to because my life is not that consistent. And so, you know, it really has just become like a state of mind. For example, the song that I wrote yesterday, literally like the first line, I think it was something along the lines of like, you know, I just sat down in the aisle seat, like about to take off. I don't know. That wasn't like the actual line, but that's what I was inspired by. You know what I mean? And like the start of verse number 2 is like layover in LA. Like that was literally what was happening. You know what I mean? And so like I take whatever I'm like going through, whatever's top of mind, and I just throw it in, you know, and just make it fit. So that's honestly been the way in which I channel my thoughts into lyrics. And that's partly why, if not all the reason why, like my lyrics come from an authentic place, you know, because I don't try to over engineer them or try to be like someone that I'm not. It's like, yo, if these are the thoughts in my mind, you know, like I'm probably like jumping in mad quick, but like, you know, when my aunt passed away in 2019 or 2018, October 2018, within that first hour, I wrote a whole song about it, you know, just what was in my heart, what was in my mind in that moment. And it ended up being on the album that I dropped in 2019, Airplane Mode, but was actually like the crux of that entire project. Like all of the songs that I built after that song is what, and I was just like in a mode, like for those 2 weeks, like all I wanted to do was sit down and write and just like express my thoughts. And so that's really where that album came from. But, you know, I got this piece of advice in the start of 2018, like stop trying to be an artist and just be an artist. And we can talk, we could talk about like what that actually means, but like for me at that time, you know, being I'm an artist, but I'm an employee, and, you know, people see me more as an employee than as an artist. And so just like self-identity and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, when I write more from the place of like, this is where my mind is, and less about like, oh, look at me, I can rhyme. That's when I like really am able to channel something that's real and authentic. So I don't even know how we got there, but here we are.
I love that. We're starting strong.
I just really need to say something before we go on to the next question, but rhyming is really hard. Like I actually tried to like freestyle, like before the podcast. I was just trying to like hype myself up. I just couldn't do it. Like this, like could really come out of my mouth that like sounded good. It was so embarrassing. I was like, okay, I'm stopping. I'm just like gonna turn it off. Like
what prompted you? I mean, you could improvise. It happens all the time.
It was actually
make some rhymes, make 5 lines rhyme. It's easy. It's so sublime. You should try it more often. I don't know. I just want
a lot of performance.
It was so embarrassing. I couldn't do it. I got like really bad secondhand embarrassment in my room by myself. I was like
secondhand. Like you looked at yourself in the mirror and the mirror told you like, yo, chill. Like,
it was like I looked at myself and I was like, no, like, I can't. This is so embarrassing.
That's hilarious. Well, don't say you can't. You could be like, you know, I'm not comfortable, but I think anybody can personally.
I know. I'm trying actually not to say those type of words to myself. I can't say I can't. I can't say never. You can't ever do. You know, I need like good, positive affirmations.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know how to do it. You know what I mean? Or like,
I don't know how to do it yet.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it yet. Like I haven't put in the, you know, whatever. Like I remember when I couldn't do it. And even now, as somebody that can do it, it's not always fluid, but you try it over and over again. You just pursue it, and eventually it just becomes good music, you know? That was a little freestyle right there. I don't know if you caught it. It's a little, you know what I mean?
Now you're inspiring me. So.
I'm just trying my best.
Amazing. Well, I love that you brought up just listening to beats in your free time, and, you know, how you work with your producer and you hear it and then you just go for it based on emotion. And I feel like something I noticed in listening to your songs is a lot of the beats are kind of dreamlike and ethereal and very, I don't know, they're very magical to me, but your lyrics are so real life. Your lyrics are so grounded and relatable because they're just spoken from your experience, like you mentioned before. And I think that has a really big impact, not only on listeners, but as an artist yourself, where you kind of are able to be in both of these worlds of dreaming and then reality. And I think that speaks to, you know, you not just being an employee, you being an artist, even when you're not recognizing it or when you weren't able to recognize it before.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you kind of hit that, because that's something I picked up on.
That's so cool. I didn't even like, dang, there is that element of I can totally hear the dreaminess aspect that you are mentioning. And it's with my producers, like, I don't have, like, I didn't go to school to, like, you know, I don't know how to like speak musician or anything, you know what I mean? It's just like, if anything, I like talk to my producers, like my language don't make no sense. I'd be like, yo, I'm hungry, like fetch me something, you know? And they just like drop me like a slew of beats and I'd be like, yo, like this or that, you know? And sometimes it'll really be a mood, like with airplane mode, for example, I wasn't in any kind of mindset to want to write anything, but like at the time that the producers sent me J-Dot, when he sent me like a whole massive file of beats, I listened to them and I'm like, oh, these are dope, these are cool, you know? And then I just went on about my life. But then months later, when the incident that I told you about happened, it's like I went back to those beats and I heard something completely different, you know? It was like something about whatever it was that he sent. Like and that'll happen. Like sometimes he'll send me beats, I won't, or, you know, any of the producers that I work with, they'll send me beats, not really hearing it or whatever. And then, you know, later on, I'll hear something completely different. There's some kind of like intonation in the beat where I'm like, all right, or sometimes I'll just hear something right away and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the vibe that I'm in. But if I don't write in that vibe in that moment, right? Like if I constrain myself, or if I say, I'm not in the space, I have to sit down and this, like I might not lose, because sometimes it comes back, but like whatever that was, I might not feel it a week from now. You know what I mean? Like if I'm super amp or energetic or whatever, and they give me like, you know, the beat that I used for Virtually on the album that dropped last year, it's like, if I'm not in that mood, I'm not really gonna, like, I can't fake it, you know, or like, I can't, I just choose not to. Like, I really, it comes easier for me because I don't have a lot of time to waste, you know, so I try to like optimize my time. And so it's like, if I'm in a sad mood, I'm gonna write a sad song. If I'm in a happy mood, I'm gonna write a happy song. I don't want to like be in a happy mood and force myself to write a sad song. I can do that. It just takes a little bit longer, you know what I mean? Because you got to like get in the zone and But at the same exact time, like the more I do it, the easier it'll go. Like I can put myself in that place if I choose to. But like, why choose to if you don't have to? So, you know, if I'm in a happy mood, I'll probably just write a bunch of happy songs. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And you're an independent artist, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'm sure that has a big influence on you really writing from the heart. There's nothing that's pushing you in any kind of, I don't want to say unnatural way, but there's nothing that's pushing you for any other reason than to want to make music because you wanted to make music.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that really speaks to hearing things differently and, you know, just working on things in different ways, like you just mentioned. And for those who don't know, do you want to just talk a little bit about what it's like being an independent artist and what your background is? I know you went to Berkeley as well, and we're some Berkeley kids, and just how
Bears.
all of that has influenced. Yes, go Bears.
Go Bears, go Bears, go Bears. Absolutely.
But how that's all influenced, you know, your path as your own person and your own artist.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, yeah, exactly like you said, independent artist. I'm, you know, managing myself, marketing myself. Back in the pre-pandemic days, right? Like it was me finding the shows, getting the shows, headlining shows, etc. But exactly to your point, I'm choosing this, you know. I have a full-time job in the day. I'm working right after I graduated UC Berkeley for business school. You know, I worked in consulting, then I went into tech. And, you know, to people kind of like on the outside, right? Like that in itself is quote unquote success, right? Like that is something that people are like, oh, that is, you know, in it, like, oh, I want to work there, or like it must be great, or da 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 da. And oops, that's what happens when you're holding it and you're so expressive like I am. And you know, you just you realize that like there is a level of entitlement that a lot of people experience in these kind of spaces. And it could be very easy to be complacent and to be like, oh, you know, like I'm in a great spot, like I might as well just stay here and, you know, get RSUs and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, for me, I really am pushed and feel called to express the things that I do and the ways that I do it. My friend Gary that I was talking about earlier with regards to how my name came to be offline. But one of the things that he said is that you have a gift and it would be a sin not to use it. You know what I mean? And so it's like I have this ability, and it's something that I've had from when I was a kid, being able to write, draw, perform, act, all these different things. And if I combine that with the real life experiences and stories and worldview that I have, and package it in a way where folks on the other side can actually receive it and be inspired and motivated and encouraged and strengthened by it, like, why would I not give that? And so that's really where it all comes from. That's really what pushes me. I'm thankful for just the missional aspect of it. It really does feel like a service for me. It really does feel like living more than just for myself and living with significance when I make this. And so it's way more than just like, well, I'm just trying to do this so I could be famous and be all over the place and It's like, no, like I have something to share that people are telling me, thank you for sharing. Right. And so, that's really the calling and the mission behind it.
I love that. I really love that. And yeah, I think there's a lot to be said too about the idea of work and mental health. And I know so many people have said you don't want to do what you love for a living because then you're not going to love it anymore. Something along those lines has been passed around a lot, especially for those getting a degree and going into the workforce in this wild time. Just being creative has such an effect on mental health. And when you pursue that, it has a very complicated relationship with how you perceive yourself as, am I successful if I do this? Am I successful if I do this, as you mentioned? And I don't know, I wonder if you have any advice or any stories you can share about what it's like to identify as the employee versus the artist and vice versa, and how you kind of exist in this, we all exist in this society of, I have to do this, I have to go here, I have to make money, I have to show people that I'm successful, and where the creativity lies within that for true success.
Yeah,
that was a lot. I don't know.
No, it's a lot. No, but it's a very important question. And for me, I have a song off of the album that I just dropped called Out of Office, and there's a bonus track. And the reason why I just felt like I wrote it, I liked the song. It didn't quite fit like the narrative that I ended up with. I wrote over like 30 songs for this project, ended up having like 12 as far as like the main narrative. But then there's 2 songs on there that I just really liked, and I couldn't get rid of them. And so I had to add them on. So they're, bonus tracks. And one of those tracks is called Short-Term Goal. And it's all about like setting those micro goals that help you. They're like staircases to your ultimate, like, quote unquote destination. And I put destination in quotes because at the end of the day, the love really is in the journey. And it's not like the milestones or the things that you get. It's the whole process through like getting towards those. And it if anything, they're just like pictures and reminders of like where you are on that journey, but they're not the goals themselves. That being said, I talk about how like the mental process of just like doing this journey day in and day out, everyone around you at the same time will be like, oh, that's success. Like, you're living in success. But me mentally, I'm like, that's not what I call it. I'm just getting started. Like, for me, there's still this mindset of like, I don't feel like this is quote unquote success, because what's success for me is not the same as what kind of like the world sees as success. And I'm not chasing for other people's definition of success. Like, success for me is something personal that, it might not make sense for people. If anything, like someone told me, like, you are a full-time artist, you know what I mean? And I remember like that mindset of, I'm trying to be an artist. It's like, no, you are an artist. And it was like, oh snap, like that to me is like, that used to be like a thing of success. Like, if I could just be an artist, it's like, but you are an artist. And it was just a mindset thing. You know what I mean? As far as being in these corporate, like listen, like we moved around from house to house. At one point we had no house to live in. Like my whole, just being alive right now, being alive in the environment that I'm coming from, the afflictions and oppression that, me and many folks that look like me have had to go through in this country and beyond. Like I'm a first generation immigrant child. Like I understand what my right. Yeah. So like I understand what my family had to go through in order to even be here. And so just like, I know that like I'm standing on the shoulders of those that came before me, and I'm in these institutions, but I also understand what it was like to have to understand that I have value before I had a college degree from an Ivy League, or, from Berkeley, or, went to work here or work there or whatever. Like I had to love myself first. Like I had to understand that like I was worthy to even be in these spaces. And so, I don't see myself, oh, now that I work here, like I'm successful, or like now that I hear because like we're all human, we're all gonna die. All this stuff is just stuff. People lose their jobs all the time. People, you see your favorite artists, they rise and they fall and all this stuff. Like all that kind of stuff happens. And so who am I doing all this stuff for? Who am I living for? And like at the end of the day, like for me personally, and this is biblical for me, but it's just like I'm not seeking the approval of men. Like not everybody likes my music, for example. I think they're wildin', but like at the end of the day, like I also understand that I can't please everybody. So I'm not going to go out of my way to try to like please, oh man, like everyone likes this kind of sound, so I'm just gonna do that. It's just like, yo, if I want to do it, I'm gonna do it. If I don't want to do it, I'm not gonna do it. If I want to rap like this, I'm gonna rap like this, and vice versa. I don't feel like I have to stay in a lane to try to please a certain kind of people. And for me, that's success. For me, is being able to do exactly what I feel called to do and not feel restrained by anyone in order to do X, Y, and Z. That's a part of success for me, right? And so, that kind of switch on, like, I don't feel like I have to prove that I'm successful to anybody. That being said, we live in an environment and in a culture, especially in the Bay Area, where like your status and your rank and all these different things like matter, to the people. Like some people won't even talk to you when they ask you like what do you do, and you give them an answer that they don't respect. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's so easy to be like, oh, I work in tech. But what if I was a janitor? You know what I mean? Like how many people would like actually still talk to me? And I think that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like I should be able to look at you as a human being and love you the same way. But, we live in that's also like, I'm not gonna be like optimistic to the point of like delusion. Like I understand that's not how this world works, right? Like I understand there's a certain way that people look at me when they realize, oh wow, he has management consulting experience. And so when I go, Lohana was talking about like, preparing your resume and stuff like that. Like I understand what my resume looks like to some people, you know what I mean? But I don't feel a slave to my resume, because I remember when my resume had nothing on it. You know what I mean? And like, I remember when I couldn't even get through the door. So how am I going to get through the door? Or do I need to build my own door? Or do I need to go through a different door in order to get to that door eventually? I had no idea where I grew up that I was going to be working where I'm at right now. There was literally there was no path towards that.
Right.
No one from where I'm from worked in any of these kind of places that I'm at. So I literally feel like I'm walking through like untouched snow, creating a path that now other people are looking at me and they're like, oh, I want to do the very same thing that you're doing. That's kind of a definition of success, because at the end of the day, it's like being able to create access and opportunity for folks that otherwise probably wouldn't have seen it for themselves. Like I get to trailblaze in a way. It comes with some hardship, but at the same exact time, it just overemphasizes for me why I'm not searching for other people to validate the path that I'm going through. Because at the end of the day, like, I don't believe people have gone through the same things that I've gone through or navigating the same way. And we all have different experiences. And that's why, like, I really encourage people to, instead of like looking at someone else, because you don't know what people are going through. Like I might look quote unquote successful to you, but I could also be going through a miserable time, right? Like you don't know what's going on the other side of people's lives. And so instead of idolizing people, like, yes, learn from what they've done, but at the same exact time, understand where you are, where you're coming from, and where you yourself need to go in order to do the things that you want to do. So that is my way of unpacking what you asked me.
That was so beautifully said.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background and just how that influenced your music, like where you grew up, your family, maybe? I just want to
and how this helped your values too. You know, someone who is so strong in their values like you are, how did your upbringing influence that?
No, for sure. So I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. My parents, my old brothers and sisters, they was born in Jamaica. I was the first one born here. Actually, on my mom's side, my oldest sister, she was born here. And me. Bridgeport, Connecticut is that's in Fairfield County, and Business Insider had actually made an article about it. It's the most economically disparate part of the United States of America, because you have Bridgeport and you have Greenwich in like the same county, you know, so you're like super rich, super poor. And
I heard about Greenwich. Super bougie, super nice, right?
It's nice. And so, you know, that's where I went my whole life, day in and day out. This thing called life. I went to a school 15 minutes away, predominantly white institution, really helped to unpack a lot of things for me. And honestly, like I'm thankful that I was able to experience that at the age that I did, because it really, I mean, there are good and bads of everything, you know what I mean? And like, I don't want to over harp on the bad. Like, I will say that being someone where I was from and being exposed to just like what was possible, you know, having friends with indoor pools, or going on school trips, and our school trips were like sailing, you know, and like I had friends that like just did not leave Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I was going to like Maine and sailing down to Massachusetts. And, you know, for some of the kids, right, like that was a regular event. For me, I had never in my life experienced such a thing, you know, hiking for a trip, or, you know, whatever, like going to all this kind of stuff, right? And so like just the exposure of things that I had at a young age, even though like, you know, I my whole school career I've been on scholarships, you know, which is a blessing. And so just being able to like go through these spaces and be exposed to things that otherwise I probably would have never gone through, just made me realize that like there's more to life. And so I've always been that kind of person where it's like, even if I don't have this, you know, resource or whatever, like what other creative avenues can I explore in order to get to where I feel like I need to go to, you know? And so I think that that experience, you know, going to Columbia for undergrad, starting the Columbia University Society of Hip Hop, you know, some people have asked, right, like what made you start it? And I was like, yo, me and my friends just like to rap, right? And like it was as simple as that. We like to rap. We were our house, the brownstone that we lived in, had like community rules and community clubs or whatever. So we just made a community club to rap, and it ended up being like a very efficient thing that still lives on to this day, and all this kind of stuff. But we weren't thinking that far out. We were just like, we just wanted a safe space for ourselves as people that love hip hop, and it turned into like a, you know, a place where we could learn, study, right, like misogyny in hip hop, or female representation in hip hop, and all this kind of stuff. And we would have ciphers, and we got to open up for Snoop Dogg and all these kind of things. But like, no one taught me like, this is how you start something. This is how you build a right. But like, those were some of my first experiences of, you know, independence and creating something new out of nothing. And how do you grow things? How do you market? How do you build partnerships and all that kind of stuff? I didn't realize I was doing business stuff back then. I was just going with my right. And so like a lot of these experiences that I'm kind of building now have been built from, or like I'm building them off of past experiences, right? Like those are my foundations to what I'm doing right now. And so for me, it's like, I understand that not everyone has gone through those same things, have been exposed to those same kind of things. And so what can I do to reach back, turn around and share, so that, hey, you don't have to necessarily go through exactly what I went through to get the same lessons that I got, but hopefully you can take those lessons, and wherever you are, you can transform wherever you are to go to that next space. Right. And so that, hopefully that gives you like a bit about my background, kind of how I see things.
Oh, definitely.
I think that hit on something super interesting too, that goes into your body of work, Working from Home, that came out in 2020, correct?
Yeah.
Because you talked about not knowing how to create something out of nothing, or not knowing what the situation that you're in will impact what you do create. And I think thinking about 2020 is such an intense example of that, of, you know, people are all feeling something, but feeling it in such different ways. And absolutely nobody has any clue how we're going to find creative outlets through this, how we're going to even get through it. You know, some people are totally fine and some people are losing loved ones, and it's so intense. And I think, I mean, that body of work is so beautiful. And you have songs, especially Still Dark Though, is such just a stunning song that you created out of just intense blah of the world. And I think it really speaks to what you were just saying. And I'd love to hear more, like, did you feel a responsibility to create something beautiful out of the intensity and the darkness?
No, I appreciate you for even asking that. And yes, I did. I feel like, but no, I didn't at the same time. And this is why I say that. So like, I understand that the space that I inhabit, like there's a responsibility towards it. Everything that I represent as an artist and as a human being, to the best of my abilities. I'm not perfect, the Lord knows, but just understanding that there is a responsibility that I have as I walk this earth that I do want to take seriously. And so with my music, the things that I rap about and the way that I rap about them, are all important to me. That being said, when everything was happening, I did not want to make any music. I did not want to do any of the things. I actually just wanted to be enraged, process, figure out what I could be doing, what people can be doing to make things right. I do believe that even though like life is hard and these things are not new by any means at all. It's not like, folks in America just like woke up and became racist yesterday. Like this whole country was like based off of it. That being said, instead of just kind of being like, oh, this is just the way things are, like we should fight every day to be the voice of the voiceless and to, help those that are oppressed, get out of oppression. And so, just understanding, okay, there's that, but then also just like, it's just like this world's just crazy. Like I don't feel like I'm just not in the like, and also like, we're stuck at home and just like I'm such an extroverted human being that like just not having like interactions with real people. I was just like, this is insane. Like I don't want to do it, right? And so, but then I would have people tell me like, yo, like I would love for some Call Me Ace music right now, like in this space. You know what I mean? Like I one person like. I remember like just viscerally, she was just like, I feel like you could help put to words how I feel right now. And so that kind of like push from, several people around me, fans and family alike. It's not that I made the album for people. It actually was, I felt like I made the album for myself, and that's really, at the heart of what this whole podcast is about, right? Is that I did not know it was like that. I did not know I was getting that. There's even one song on that project because I dropped 2 working from homes. I dropped Working From Home right before the pandemic started, but then there was a pandemic and everybody was like, "Oh, working from home, how'd you know?" I was like, "Yo, I had no idea. That's just if anything, right? Like in the tech. Yeah, I'm so serious.
Wow.
So like I dropped that at February 29th. And then like we all started staying from home like March 12th or whatever, and right? And so
blew up.
Yeah. And so like, in like the tech world, like working from home was like one of those luxury. I feel like any job, right? Like if you're able to work from home, that's like a luxury. So that was kind of like the working from home was just a sense of, I wanted to play on that word, on that phrase, just like luxury lifestyle, but then also like I'm an employee, but when I leave work, I'm still working because I'm an artist. And so that was the play on it. You know what I mean? But then I was like, snap, I'm really like working from home and like the world is on fire. Yeah. Exactly. So then I made Working From Home Extended. And again, that wasn't something that I planned, that like none of it was planned. If anything, I was like, I don't want to rap anymore. And so there's a song on Working From Home Extended called Waste Time. And the first line in that song is, it's so weird and I have no motivation. so used to being the engine for others. And what's interesting about that line is I literally did not want to write that song. I didn't want to write, like I said, anything. But what I did was I turned on 2 cameras and I was like, I just needed some kind of like external thing to push me. I was like, I'm going to sit down and write a song in an hour. Cause that's normally what I do. And like when I'm like in the zone kind of thing. And so it was a way for me to force myself to get into that zone. And so just like how I was talking about earlier today, you know, when I was on a plane yesterday, I wrote a line about me sitting in the plane or like sitting in the lake. So that line of like, it's so weird and I have no motivation. I said that to myself, like, just, that's how I feel. And I just wrote it. I was just like, whatever it comes, like, is what it's going to be. And so that's how Still Dark though became. That's how all the songs became. And it shout outs to my homie Jade out who sent me the beat too, right? Like when he sent the beat, I didn't know that's what it was going to be for. But when I heard the beat, when I felt what I was feeling, just kind of seeing everything that was happening, I just really had to let it out. And I let it out in that way. And I'm thankful that I did, because it ended up being a song that, like you said, a lot of people, it's actually a pretty contentious song. Like not everyone loves that song. Obviously because it's touching on like real things, you know? And so that was one of those things where like, even though it's my most viewed video, the comments are also like, you know, as divided as our country. And so I think it was one of those things where as artists, you know, we're very sensitive about our stuff, but I've grown over time to like not care, you know, like if anything, the way that I honestly look at it, in addition to you can't please everybody, is they are just growing my engagement rate. So I comment back. I comment back, and you know, I'm just like, oh, like what don't you like about it, or you know, like, oh, how could it have been better? You know what I mean? Like some people didn't understand. Okay, so like in Still Dark though, like I purposefully kind of bring folks into how I was feeling. The way that I felt artistically to do that is at the beginning of the song, you can't really understand what my flow is going to be. You can't understand where I'm going with it. You can't understand what word is going to come next. Where is the rhyme going to come? I really wanted to do that to show people that like my mind right now has like no sense in it. There's no structure. There's no sense of direction. Like all my other songs, like you can hear like, oh, okay, like he clearly has a flow. He clearly has like a direction that he wants to go. With this song, like, where am I supposed to go? Like the world looks so dark right now. Where am I literally supposed to go? And so I did that intentionally. And some people didn't understand it. Some people were like, oh, the beginning kind of threw me off. I didn't like that. I'm like, that's cool. But what I hear is that you were uncomfortable because you didn't understand the sense of direction. And that's actually what I wanted you to feel. I wanted you to be like, what's going on? I don't understand it. And then you catch it on later, because that's exactly how I felt. Paulette, that's exactly how I felt. So, you know, that's just me being a nerd with my art and like really wanting
it's art. That's what I was gonna say.
Right? Like I really want.
You're an artist.
Yeah, like I could. Yeah, I could be like, hey, I'm hurt and the world is broken, and it right. But it's like I want to bring y'all deeper. I want you to feel and experience what I'm feeling. And you know, some people get it, some people don't. I'm very thankful that y'all caught it, and you know. That in a nutshell is how that whole project came to be. And another thing was like, I didn't want to make it like I'm not one of those people that's trying to like capitalize on the moment and like, hey, let's like sell some t-shirts about oppression, you know, it's like, and so it was like with the things that I learned from a marketing standpoint, it was like, okay, well then how can like we generate things and do what I can in my power? Like I'm not at some like crazy status where I'm getting like billions of dollars on music or whatever, but from what I'm able to generate from sales, thanks to, you know, my fans and supporters, like, let's like give it to an organization. Like, let's do something, right? Like we all want to do something, like, let's do something collectively. Let's do something together. I don't want to just make music for us to like bop to or cry to or whatever. Let's also like tangibly like move forward in a certain way. And it might not change the world overnight, but it's something. Like, let's do something. And that was my mindset in that whole that album came together in 2 weeks. Like literally from putting it together. My engineer, I literally had him like work overtime. I love him. Shout outs to Brian Kidd. Like literally because he was in the zone. I just woke up one day and I was like, hey guys, like I'm writing an album. 5 days later, hey guys, I have an album. A week later, Brian Kidd sends it to me. And then June 1st, I start publicizing or I start getting everything together on the back end. June 10th, I start publicizing. June 26th, album drops. and we donate the money like the couple of days after that. And so it was quick. It was quick. It was a really wild June.
Where'd you donate the money to?
This organization called Faith in Action, the Live Free USA campaign. And so it was a combination of being able to provide masks for those that need it, as well as fighting against racial injustice and the criminalization of Black and brown people. So it was really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. I know. I think the impact was just absurd. I'm both appalled and happy that people had, a bad reaction to Still Dark, though, because like you said, it generates this conversation, and it generates people to interact. Also just shows that that's what art is. It is speaking for so much more than just the 2 minutes or 4 minutes or however long of a song it is. It is speaking to this huge, huge situation that exemplifies what fans feel, what you feel as an artist, and what the entire country feels. And so
Definitely.
I'm happy to hear kind of your perspective around it and how the feedback was so varied, because that just really that shows the impact, I think.
No, for sure.
That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
You're a true trailblazer. You are. And I'm like, wow, he just is. Like, he is.
I appreciate that. For
Well, I know that we don't have a lot of times. I literally want to be able to talk to you about this forever.
I know.
I just have so many thoughts on every single song. But after releasing that body of work and releasing more and more music, what do you have next? And how has it felt to come off of these releases? And how does that help you with your forward moving for future releases as well?
Yeah. That's a fun question. So
it's fun and flirty.
I love it. So out of Office, I just dropped that February 5th. So a little over a month ago. I just dropped a live performance, 20 minutes, did a few songs off the album, performed it live on YouTube. You can find that. And dropped a couple music videos off the project. I'm planning on shooting another music video next week. Planning on, I'm doing an out of office school tour. So meeting with different student groups across various campuses from UC Berkeley to Columbia and FSU and Irvine, et cetera, and just sharing what I can, right? Telling them about my journey, hopefully sharing some advice. And like I mentioned earlier, right? Like if there's things that I've learned in this life, hopefully it could help you as you're navigating yours. And just allowing myself to be a resource for those that need it and want it. And whether it's just like, hey, I want to be a musician, or hey, I want to work in the corporate world, or hey, I just, I want to be pushed beyond what I think is possible. Being able to do that. And then, just continuing to connect with people, in the different ways that I'm doing. Like I told you, like I'm clearly listening to new music right now. So, I gotta keep my creative juices flowing. Who knows how it'll turn into a project. I think what's awesome about kind of how things are right now is I'm very thankful for the community of people that support me, the High Grade Society. It really is a community effort. And so I just love seeing how we're just growing. It's very organic. Like I'm not, buying followers to look like I'm big. It's literally like, this is moving thanks to people that actually love it and support it. Like the fact that we have this conversation right now and just hearing y'all's responses to the music, like that to me is more meaningful than look at all the streams or look at all the people that clicked and because like that's not meaningful to me. I remember very directly when none of that was the case. I remember when it was me having to reach out to somebody, be like, hey, just try to listen to my music. Now it's a beauty to like, have fans reach out from Canada or New Delhi or Tokyo and be like, yo, I came across your music. I love it. I'm a fan, and it's just like, just the way that it's spreading. And, it's like from ones to tens to, hundreds and thousands. I'm not at 100,000s, but, we're growing though. And I think that's the beauty of it is that like, it's just happening. And so with the momentum of everything that's happening right now, it kind of like sets us up for whatever the next thing is. And just continuing to stay on brand, if you will, continuing to give myself through this music, and hopefully it resonates with people as I keep doing it.
Yay. Well, so much for this.
Of course.
I feel inspired. I'm excited to, and I encourage everyone listening to stream all things Call Me Ace, because there's a lot to unpack there, and it will be my playlist for the foreseeable future. Yeah. So I'll get back to you when I get through all of it.
I appreciate you. No, thank you so much for this time. This is awesome, and a very unique conversation that I've had. I haven't had a as in-depth of a discussion on the the mindset of the music creation process. And I think it's something for me as an artist. I can always talk about the business stuff, and I understand why folks want to talk about the business stuff. And I love the business stuff too. I went to business school, but just to remember, like I said earlier, right? Like, I'm an artist, and there's a lot of artistic decision making that takes place to do the things that I'm doing in the ways that I'm doing them, that like, I love talking about that stuff, and I don't get to do it enough. And so this for me was a very rare conversation. I'm looking forward to sharing it with folks. So thank you.
We're so glad. Yay. Well, come back.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll do it all again.
Absolutely.
When we have more time, so we can get into more like juicy.
I know.
Exactly.
I know. I love that this wasn't even juicy enough. We got more in store. Part 2 will come soon. And
yes, baby.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.